What's up? This is Mark Schindler, and you are watching the Hoodie and the Headband.
Welcome back to the Hoodie and the Headband podcast show. It is your boy Bryce, and I'm joined by my brother Tariq. Tariq, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It's weird. Uh,
That
for
boy,
those
oh,
who, for those who don't know, obviously this probably gonna be out on a different or tomorrow. So
yeah.
yes, it was my birthday. If you're listening to this today, so yeah, I'm 25 now. I do not like it. I'm blessed to be alive, but I don't like the number of 25.
I'm almost 30.
Just relax.
I'm just treating you how you treated me when I turned 25. So that's all.
I was worse, to be honest.
Keep
I
the
was
same
worse.
energy. But word, man. As you can see, we're joined by the one and only Mark Schindler, the mayor of Cleveland, man.
I had somebody tell me yesterday that I need to talk to Justin Bibb, our mayor, about making some happen. I'm like, I think you're joking, but also like I'm just not on that status, bud. But I appreciate it. And
No,
also,
man.
happy birthday, Tariq. 25 hit me like a freaking train. So, welcome to the club. I turn 27 next month, and sounds just really gross. So, yes.
Man, yeah, this adult thing is crazy, bro.
Yeah, the years
Like, you
just
hear
keep
the
going.
numbers, it's like, damn.
It's like, how is that possible? You know?
Right.
Like I was watching, what was I watching the other day? I'm working on like a random project, and I went back and I was watching like Rutgers from 2015 because like I'd never seen Ka play in college. So I
Yeah.
went back and I'm like, dude, 2015 is like 8 years ago, 9 years ago almost. Like
Oh my
that's
God.
insane. Because like, dude, I was a freshman in college 9 years ago. Like that doesn't like what?
We were sophomores in high school, bro. That's crazy.
My
Like
God,
that's
yeah, yo, me and Tariq have known each other for 11 years now? Oh my, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. Like I'm not to like keep going long, but my first like real foray into like loving basketball was the 2013 Indiana Pacers, and like thinking about that, that's a decade ago that we saw
Mm,
Paul George dunk on
yeah.
Birdman. Like again,
Yeah,
gross.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that was eighth grade. That's crazy.
yeah, that
That
was
was
like
such a long time ago.
that was the
Yeah.
peak of NBA fandom too. Like
Yes.
we were at our all time best.
Oh my goodness, man. But yeah, we're joined by the one and only Mark Schindler, man, basketball analyst, host of They've Got Now, bracketology for the Athletic, writer for WME.com. You've seen this guy on the TL for
There's
many.
no way. Yeah,
Welcome to the show, Mark.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm just hanging in there. Yesterday was a nuts day. We got some of the absolute best two back-to-back games. I think we got the entire season. So I'm just blessed with that, man. That was so fun to watch yesterday. And like every star played well. It was pretty wild. I'm still kind of getting over Paige's performance though. Paige was just nuts yesterday.
can't stop smiling. People talk about Paige.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we'll
yeah,
get into all that. We'll get into all that in a little bit. First, we got some news. Georgia Amore hits the transfer portal. Um, based off her farewell to Virginia Tech, she kind of left the open end in there. It wasn't like, oh, she declared for the draft or she's coming back or like it was always like left in the air for us to like try to figure out or try to like think of what the possibility is. What do you guys think about Georgia Amore hitting the portal?
Mark can go first if you want.
Yeah, I know a lot of people looked at it and they were like, well, her draft stock's never going to be higher. And I just think like so much of it, like I get that to a degree. Like she might, for me, I think she could have gone as high as 4 to the Sparks because I think just guard play is so essential in the league, and not just guard play, but getting high end guard play because you look across the league and like half the teams in the W are looking to upgrade at point guard, and I think Georgia gives you a chance to do that if things really hit right. Um, But I think so much of next year is number one, she could end up going that high next year if she continues to develop the way she has, because she really got a lot better this year. But number two, like it's so much more about is she going to land somewhere and have an opportunity to actually develop? So I get that. But if she goes to Kentucky, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Like they I obviously have to see what all they do in the transfer portal with Kenny there now, but I just think that's going to be such a hard reset to go in and play on a team that's rebuilding in like I think I don't know, like I don't love like drumming up the SEC is more physical. I honestly think that's mostly just a narrative and gets way too drawn out. Like obviously I think the SEC is incredible, but like it's more so my frustration with how ESPN portrays things. But
Right.
um I think like coming in and just expecting Georgia to be able to handle all that without having Liz, like we saw how much she I don't even want to say struggle without Liz. Like she obviously was not the same. I
mm-hmm.
think a lot of that had to do with her teammates around her, to be fair. Um, I definitely just have a lot of questions about what it's going to look like because this could go a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that she didn't go into the draft. I figured since obviously Liz was moving on, was her final year, so I assumed that she would move on as well. But I think um, somebody mentioned like the fact that she could possibly be playing on the Australian team, so that could be a big thing. Like, you don't want to try to mix in the W season and like growing with that, and then oversee or and doing the Olympics if you make the team. So I can see that point. I also saw that she put in like a no contact, so she knows exactly where she's going. So I'm assuming it's Kentucky because that's where Kenny Brooks is. And then again, like he said, like it's really just gonna come down to like who else is he bringing or who else is gonna be there because her, I think one of the main things that she's got to work on, and it'll be difficult for her to work on if the teams that or if this team isn't equipped for it, is her shot selection and when she's shooting certain shots. Like early in the season, she was shooting a ton of the tough, really, really tough step back threes. And as the season went on, she started to shoot them less and less, or like at the right times. And I think her rise started right before the ACC tournament last season, and then it really just snowballed into the NCAA tournament when she was just hitting crazy shots, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, who is this?" And then this season, it was like, "Okay, we went to the Final Four last year. We got to go back," kind of thing. So I feel like they had a lot of pressure on them at the beginning of the season, and then once they got through like their non-conference stretch, I feel like everything kind of settled down a little bit for them. So really, it's just like who's going to be around her, honestly, because it's going to be hard for her to just step into a whole new team, a whole new conference, and just flourish. But if she does, that obviously helps her draft stock tremendously. But there's so many tough guards throughout the country. Like the SEC's got good guard play. So I mean, depending on how many times you got to play South Carolina, how many times you're gonna have to play LSU, Tennessee, potentially, like that's 6
And
games
now
for
Texas, like
yeah.
it's like
Roy Harmon.
Ooh.
yeah.
It's gonna be like you're gonna be tested. This is gonna be like a I don't want to say like a Haley Van List situation because it's a lot different because of how many players were already there when she came in. But like you're gonna have to prove that you are ready for the next stage and not, kind of. I don't want to like say that she'll dwindle, but like she's gotta like prove it on that stage.
Yeah, I agree with you guys are saying, man. I think this could be a good year to show who she is as a player. She does follow Kenny to Kentucky, um, and really help her, or just get, she'll take on a bigger load, like a bigger role in that sense because she's an experienced player and because she is will probably be the best guard that they'll have on that team next year, and but how much of that will help her game, I don't know. It's really like an up and down situation, man, because it's like, all right, you're transferring, like you have a chance to get into the draft, high draft pick, whatever, but you're transferring to follow your college coach, which it's not really in the best situation to win next year, but I don't know. I mean, I know usually whenever, because it just happened in college Charleston coach just Pat Kelsey just got the Louisville job and took his best player with him, who is also Australian, which is crazy.
Australians run college basketball, it
Parallels
seems
there,
like.
man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Georgia Amore hitting the transfer portal. Very, very interesting to see. We'll be on the lookout to see where she is playing ball next fall. But yeah. Other news we got Kelly Harper from Tennessee fired after 5 years. What do you guys make of this?
This one kind of shocked me, but if you like, I don't know, like Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, isn't like a great place to look for like people's opinions and stuff. But if you look at Twitter, like, they don't like her at all, and I don't think she's a terrible coach. I just think there's been some moments where it's like, you probably shouldn't have done that there. Like obviously the South Carolina game is the big one that people are going to talk about, but like
Oh my
I
gosh.
still think I don't blame them for leaving her open. Like come on, like how many times she gonna make that shot from there? Like and then they're like, oh, she hasn't gotten past the Sweet 16. I'm like, there's a ton of teams that haven't got past the Sweet 16. Like it's hard to do. Like, and it's not like Tennessee was like, oh, they're favored in this game. Like the past couple of years, like they just got like they didn't play that many games last season with Jordan Horse and Amber Kia Jackson both healthy. So like the time that they got healthy was the SEC tournament, and then in the like NCAA tournament they got to play together. So it wasn't like they had this full like stack squad that just fell apart. Like I don't know, man. It's 3 years, and you're just like, all right, we're done with it. Like they have to have someone in mind, but I'm like, who at this point? It's just like I
Yeah.
don't know. It's weird, especially when you could have gone with Kara Lawson 3 years ago. You chose Kelly Harper, and now 3 years in, you're just like, yep, we're done. It's just kind of fast, I feel like.
Yeah, it's really tough. Because I agree. I think I mean Vols fans are love them, but they are brutal. So like on one hand, I think I understand, but I think part of the difficulty, and I don't mean this to throw shade, I'm just going to be so interested once Gino retires, what that looks like for UConn too, because I think transitioning out of having one of the all-time greats in the sport, like,
Yeah,
how do you do that? Like, Holly Warlick was good. She was a good head coach, but you can't live up to what Pat Summitt did. You
right.
can't. That's impossible, especially the way that the game has evolved and changed, and how much more spread out things are. Like it's just really hard to do. Um, I think to me, them firing Kelly after this makes me feel like they very much have a feeling that they have an inside track on who they're going to hire. Could be wrong on that, but my assumption, like, I think if they were less certain of actually getting somebody who they view as an immediate upgrade and long-term upgrade, I don't think they would have done it this year because that's a hefty buyout too. She was signed through 2028. Like,
Yeah,
um,
a lot
so
of
I'm just going to be curious to see who it is because I know a lot of people have brought up like, well, why would Kara leave Duke? I mean, the opportunity to go back to where you were an all-time great.
yeah,
And her recruits would follow her. Like her recruits are going there for her. They're not going there for Duke. They're going there for Kara Lawson. I'm not advocating that she should necessarily leave the program because it's been cool to watch her build it up, but um, I think she would be a great hire for Tennessee, and that's kind of who I have my eye on automatically. That might end up winding up there because that's just like if she's gonna go somewhere else, I think it would be there.
right. Yeah, it makes the most sense for Tennessee at least. For Duke, they're like, please no.
No, please don't.
Right. Right, cause hey man, what Kara's did with Duke the past couple of seasons, man, in the time that she's done it, and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah, bringing them to a Sweet 16 this year, and they just been knocking on the door year after year. Like that team's getting better, and so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for real. You know how they plan on making this decision.
Yeah, and everybody, to be fair to like everybody dogged Duke for how they looked in that game against UConn. Number one, I question if you watched Duke play basketball at all
I was
this year.
that's
That's, I
very
mean, I think they were, if I had it written down correctly, I think they were almost 300th in the country in pace this year. Like they play slow, they want to grind stuff out, and they still came back and almost won that game. Like
yeah,
they have, I think it's I want to say it's 4 or 5 freshmen that are all rotation players. Like that this team as a 7 seed got to the Sweet 16 was really impressive to me. Like they've had the talent all year. They struggled to win some of the big games. They were always right there. I think Kara is an incredible coach, and people are
Yeah,
way too unfair just because they don't like how our team plays, to be honest.
I agree.
I love how our team plays. It can be very frustrating to watch sometimes, but I
Yeah,
appreciate the defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
for sure. And then last little bit of news, nothing too major, but something that me and Tariq kind of noticed yesterday was Maddie Westbeld tweet. As you know, yesterday, Monday, was April Fool's Day. And she was like, yeah, today's just not a day to like be really announcing anything. And
Which yesterday, I think for her was like, or for like certain school, like the schools that lost in the Sweet 16, I believe, was the last day that they could declare for the draft. If I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, so it's everybody who's not going to be who wasn't in the Elite Eight had to declare by yesterday, which it's tough because like technically there are a lot of players who probably might have declared but didn't make it public.
yeah,
right.
But with what you're getting out with Maddie, I think this is her saying she's coming back.
Yeah, I do too. I would be surprised if she declared.
if she come back, her, Olivia back, Hannah coming back for her sophomore season, sign me up, man.
And I think I have a feeling that they're going to bring in a really good transfer or two as well, like
I,
somebody in that like Anna DeWolf mode because her stats weren't crazy this year, but especially late in the year,
oh,
Anna had so many big moments, especially in the ACC tournament. Um, and the biggest thing I want to point out to people too, because everybody loved pointing out what the situation was with the centers. Kate Koval is coming in, and she's really good. I don't know if she's going to start right away, but she's going to play big minutes, and
yeah,
she's very good. You can watch her tonight at the McDonald's All-American game.
Oh, I'm
yeah, she
definitely tapped into that.
yeah she is really good. They definitely needed like this was the first year that they didn't bring in like a transfer at the center position. That was like a key piece for them. Last year was Lauren Ebo. The year before that, it was what's her name? She came from Stanford, I think. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now, but they brought in two different ones. Um, and this year, I think they expected more from the center position. And I'm not saying that they were terrible. I just think that they expected more from at least one of them. And neither one of them really took that step forward. I think they both played well in spurts, but they didn't really add to the team the way that they were hoping.
Mhm.
But I would be surprised if Maddie did, just because I feel like she's still growing, and I think she can get even better than she was this year. I think she took a lot of steps, like shooting the ball defensively this year. I think she was really good, especially in like team and team defense and help defense. Um, so, and the thing about her is like, what position would she play in the W? So it's kind of like she came out, she was like a four, and now she can play like three and the four in college. So, and I feel like she's transitioned her body every year that she's been in college. So I'm interested to see what kind of frame she tries to take into the WNBA next year.
Yeah, just from like talking to people in like league offices, I know that's the big question is like what position does she play at the next level?
Yeah,
And I think it's totally fair, but my biggest thing is just exactly what you're getting on. Her consistency has grown so much. I feel like this year, and even from talking to her earlier in the year, like that was the thing she really wanted to work on, and it feels like that hit this year. Like the shot wasn't all over the place. Like it felt like every game you were gonna get the same version of Maddie, which was really important. And yeah, I think with her coming back, I agree. Like I'm just so excited to see what this team can look like next year because she's so pivotal in getting that going. Like the way that her Son and Hannah started to fit together was really good. Um, like I know everybody like again, like I agree that the center position needed an upgrade. My thing was more like they needed another ball handler so
yeah,
much this year because like everything had to be on Hannah. And I don't think it was just like because she wanted it that way. Like Anna did a lot of really good stuff off the ball, but she wasn't really able to fill in as a backup point guard. So they ended up having Sony run backup point guard most of the time. Um, and just having another ball handler and not just another ball handler, having Olivia Miles back next year. Like, and I've seen like again, I'm sorry to like unload, but I've seen just like a ton of like what is how do they fit together? Like, I don't know, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, yes, I get that. For like 2 minutes at the end of a close game, fair question. But also, it's Olivia freaking Miles, dude. Like, so at some point, you just have to recognize this is such a big talent upgrade. This is somebody who is going to be a constant threat
Yeah.
and feeds into the transition game. And I think she's going to be even better playing defense next year. Like, um, it's sometimes we overthink it with talent. And I think this is one of those situations. Like Notre Dame's going to be incredibly good next year.
Yeah,
Oh
she
yeah.
takes a ton of pressure off of Hannah next year. Hannah gets
Yes.
played too, and I feel like she played a lot of two in high school. So, like, obviously, she probably played a lot of one because she was the best player on the court in most games. But I feel like her game is more suited for the two because she can create for others as well. But I feel like she'd be better just being able to catch and make a decision quick or get it back out and run some offense again. Because Olivia in the fast break and in the half court is one, if not the best point guard in the country, one of the three best point guards in the country. So
Yeah.
you get like, and if she's shooting the ball better, good night. If
I know
both
she's
them,
been working on it all year, so I'm
yeah,
excited to see what that looks like.
Man,
that'll be wild.
I cannot wait to see the Fighting Irish next season, especially after how they ended off this season. ACC champs. um, kind of a slightly disappointing exit in the Sweet 16, but they'll be back. Speaking of Sweet 16, that took place this past weekend.
I know you went straight to the Elite Eight.
I mean,
Well,
we could touch on Sweet 16. What was the best game in y'all opinion in the Sweet 16?
I feel
Ooh.
like UCLA LSU now.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it lived up to the expectations. Not really the best execution by UCLA in this game, but
Oh man,
yeah.
Yeah. I would personally say Baylor versus USC was my favorite Sweet 16 game. I
that
thought
was
that
good.
one was really fun. UCLA LSU was really good too, but I loved Baylor USC.
I thought their style of like both of their style of play made for a really interesting matchup going in. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, we're just here to see Juju, but it's like Baylor can play. Like they may not have as many household names as the other teams, but Baylor is always a team. Whether it was a girl at LSU or Nikki Collin now, like they always have a set way of play, and they're not going to change that no matter who's on the court. And that's always impressive when you know what you're going up against and what you know what you're getting every single game.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back. I want to watch that game back again some point before the Final Four too, because it was really fun. Like, I think that was like the first team we've really been able to see that has like a real kind of pro style against Juju. I mean, Baylor doesn't really play a center, but they have like four forwards who are all like 6 feet or taller. They're pretty long. They can stay in front of people, and they just like switched a bunch. And I think Juju got a good handle on it by the end of the game. But early on, I thought they did such a good job of disrupting things. I'll always go to bat. Like Dariana Little Paige Bugs is just one of my favorite players in the country. She's insane defensively. Yeah, I could wax poetic about Baylor for forever because they play basketball I really enjoy. And shout out to Jada Walker. She had a hell of a tournament run.
Yeah, she went
Sure,
nuts.
man. Baylor definitely stepped up, definitely played big, definitely showed why they belong in that company this in this tournament.
You want to jump to the eight?
Sure, yes. Let's just jump to the Elite. Let's forget all other games in Sweet 16. Let's jump to the Elite Eight.
I mean,
Sunday, Oregon State, South Carolina. South Carolina took care of business. But Oregon State, didn't bat out easy.
yeah, it was an interesting matchup. I feel like South Carolina didn't. I don't want to say they didn't respect them, but they wanted to make them. Maybe they didn't respect them a little bit. I feel like early in the game, like the way that they were guarding the guards, like the way they were guarding Talia and Donovan and Lauren or Lily when she came in, I think they were reaching a lot. In my opinion, they were like really just trying to rattle them and see how far they could push them. And I think by the end of the first quarter, they all started to settle into the game and they started to believe in themselves and have confidence. I think a lot of that had to do with how much they turned the ball over against Notre Dame the game prior. I think if they didn't turn the ball over that much, they probably don't try to do as much as they did. But then South Carolina kind of got away from it for a little bit. And Oregon State is such a team that is just like, we're going to get to our set and we're going to run our set every single play or every single time down. I mean, Lily went crazy. I think she had what 4 or 5 threes. So it's like,
Yeah, and it felt like almost all of them were in the first half, right? Because she went on like her own little run too, because like they weren't
yeah,
scoring anything, and then she came in and started doing her lefty shit, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, you got to guard that.
and it wasn't even like they guarded badly. Like there was a hand there every time she shot the ball, and it was still going out. I was like, hey, I mean, I'm running a set for her every time we come down the court. If she's making them like that, like, and then Donovan hit a couple in the second half. I think they really wanted to get Tamia going, but that was a difficult matchup just based off of like athleticism and size, especially with Ashlyn. Like that block she had on the pull up step back was
That
crazy.
was crazy. Yeah, it was interesting because like you're saying, like they started playing like a bunch of big to big stuff, like
Yeah.
flaring for Tamia, and it worked when Chloe was on the court. And then I like going back, like I don't think Chloe touched the court in the second half. And it was all Ashlyn or Sanaya playing the four. And yeah, they could not get anything going from that.
Yeah, it was an interesting matchup just because Oregon State plays such a, like a set pace. South Carolina wants to play a little bit of both. Like they want to get up and down the court, but they also want to be like, hey, let's make sure we get it to Camilla. And I think South Carolina, like once they start to get it going, they get so confident that sometimes they get away from what they're supposed to do. And that's when Dawn's like, I'm gonna let y'all figure it out. And then when she finally calls the timeout, I was like, yo, get the ball to Camilla. And then that first play out, they get the ball to Camilla. She either scores or gets an open shot for somebody else. And
Yeah.
then they get back into a rhythm. But there's times where like you can see the youth. Like you can see they're like, oh, I just did this crazy play, or I just made this block. Like I'm going down here and I'm getting bucked. Like Don's like, all
Yeah,
right, I'm gonna let you
boy.
play it out. But then when we look back at this later tomorrow, like you're gonna see like you made a mistake here. And I think like Dawn allows her team to make mistakes and grow from them a lot. And a lot of coaches, like you can see on the sidelines, they're losing their minds. They're trying to rip their hair out, like run up and down the sidelines, run on the court, like relax, take a beat, let your team figure it. Like these are kids, most of them at least. They're like 20, 19, 22, 21. Like let them figure it out. And then
Miller,
when
right?
it's time out, be like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what we need to do. This is what you're doing currently. Like fix this problem. And that's what Dawn does a lot of the time. It's just like, okay, this was working for a little bit, but y'all are getting away from what we are accustomed to doing. Get back to that. And I think like they shot the 3 ball so well this year that they're like, all right, if I gotta look, I'm shooting. And not every shot is a good shot. Not every somewhat open 3-point shot is a good shot. And I think they're still trying to learn that.
Yeah, and as you said, that's gonna come with time. They're gonna build maturity. I mean, they got a lot of freshmen and sophomore on this team, a couple juniors. I know they got a couple seniors this year that are leaving, but Tina Papa's coming back next year, and she'll definitely be that leader that she's been for them this season, and be able to help them on both sides of the ball, and really get them together. So I mean, I'm not too worried about South Carolina. Just sometimes they play with their food, um, and they just need to, hey, lock in.
Yeah, I agree.
NC State, who has I want to say been a surprise, but just they've emerged as a serious team throughout the season. Starting off unranked, then being one of the best teams in the ACC, now making their way to the Final Four after the win over Texas. Isaiah James, man,
She's been insane.
killer.
Yeah, nuts. Like her improvement from last year to this year. Like we've seen that with a couple of players this year, but like I don't know, man. Like when you get to this stage, there's always like you're looking out for the stars, but then you're always like there's gonna be like 2 or 3 players that like aren't household names yet that are gonna make themselves household names because of this tournament. And Isaiah James has taken that and run with it. Like she's done it in every game during the tournament. Like I want to say she's got 20 in every game, if not the last 3. Like she's been going insane. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see Sanaya Rivers versus South Carolina because she was there and she was like, I'm a transfer. I know some people are like, come back, but I find that really interesting. Like that guard matchup is gonna be very interesting with like Isaiah and Sanaya trying to attack and play more perimeter based in that game and see how South Carolina's players react to that, because some of them take challenges personally and try to get into their bag a little bit. So I'm very excited to see that matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think speaking on Isaiah, like she started the season really hot from three and
Mm-hmm.
then like kind of cooled down once they got out of non-con play. So I think she shot like just under 31% from the season all the way through the end of the NCAA tournament. She is 16 of 28 from three in the tournament right now in 4 games.
I see.
Shooting 57% from deep. And that's just
I
nuts.
don't even
And
know.
it's been like everything has been off the dribble
Yeah.
or contested. Like there were a couple open shots against Texas. I think some people were way too harsh on Texas's defense. Like they were contesting Isaiah like she's
Yeah.
just making it. I mean, that was an out of body performance. 7 to 9 from three in one game. Like, man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I'm looking at her past couple of games now, 77% and 60% the game before that.
Yeah, it was a great game. She put the team on her back, even though the team helped her as well. But that kind of performance, you can't lose with a performance like that.
No.
LSU Iowa.
LSU Iowa, the rematch. Ooh, wee.
I just
This
want
was
to say
a crowded
I'm
game.
so glad. I'm so glad these games lived up to the hype.
Oh,
Like
for sure, bro.
yesterday,
Last time I was
yesterday
watching
so
my video, I was like, what if these games is mid? And then everybody was
I'd have been so hurt if like everybody just came out and it was like 33-30 or something, like just something crazy, like Stanford, UConn a couple years ago in the was it Final Four. Yeah, Final Four. Like I was
Ooh,
so
yeah, that was rough.
I was so excited for that game. My ex at the time was like watching the game with me because she knew like I was a huge Haley Jones fan, UConn fan. We were watching the game and she's like, they're missing a lot. I'm like, if she noticed it, then this is bad, bro. Like it was bad. But like both of these games like lived up to the hype 100%. Like my only thing is, and I don't think anyone asked her yesterday. I don't think anyone was like brave enough to ask her, but like
oh my gosh, bro.
I was Haley Van Lith guarding Caitlin Clark on the island yesterday. Like I just don't understand it. And it's like if you had a plan for it, like you were gonna high hedge, you were gonna like send doubles. They didn't do any of that. Like they just kind of left her on an island after a certain point. Like they took her out with like 2 minutes in the first quarter, or after 2 minutes in the first quarter, put in Poa, and then it was just kind of like, all right, Poa got in foul trouble. And he's like, all right, Haley, like this is on you now. I'm like, you got Flau'jae right there. Like I don't understand. And it's kind of the same way as last year. Like Dawn chose not to put Bree Bill on her, and
Not the best defender in the SEC, and you don't want to put on the best player on the court. What is it? I'm sorry. It's tricked me all over again. It's tricked me all over again. But yes.
it was just confusing to me. I don't know about you. Maybe you seen it differently, Mark.
No, no, not at all. I think it was exactly what you're saying. Like, I think I could understand it to a degree if it was like, okay, well, we're gonna put Haley on and then like do a ton of stuff off the ball to just try and make things difficult. And they didn't change up anything defensively until I think the first time they even like switched was with about the 5 minute mark in the fourth quarter. And it was just like I I don't know what the game plan was because, like, all due respect, like Haley just kind of, like, no offense, but like if you watched them the entire year, like you knew like that was not going to be a matchup she could hold on to. Especially like they played their bigs in a much steeper drop. Like I think you could maybe get away with it if you were playing Angel closer to the level of the screen and giving Haley or whoever's chasing a little bit extra room to get back over because it's just so hard. Like Caitlin is so good getting around screens and using them. You can't just ask one player to do that. Like that's not it hasn't worked for anybody
At all.
in the last 2 seasons. So I don't know why people keep doing it.
Oh, my
Um
gosh, man.
so it was really rough to watch that because And like to be fair too, like I think Haley had some really solid possessions on her once we got into the second half. She got the first half, no. But second half, I think she did some good things like
Yeah.
trying to stay in front and keep her out. But like there was that one where like Caitlin just gets the ball middle of the floor, denies a screen, and like literally like twirls around in a circle and shoots a
And
step back. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like we can dog this player all we want for not being able to guard that, but who the
she's
fuck
making
is guarding that? Like
yeah, no,
who's guarding that? That's
that's what I was
I will
like.
say though, the thing that was crazy, like they were giving Caitlin her left hand, and I
No,
don't get that at all. That was wild to me.
yeah.
Um,
It was
Listen,
like
man.
Kim Mulkey wanted her to win. Like I don't know. Maybe Kim Mulkey likes her too much. I don't know. It was
Well,
weird.
she 8, 9, 10 feet from the line, fade away to the left, making it all net.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like,
That's
bro,
what I'm playing on.
you could have switched Flaw J on her, or like you at least you gotta put somebody her size on her. Like, I'm sorry, somebody's shorter than me. I'm shooting over him all the time,
Yeah.
especially my Caitlin Clark, all the time.
And
Like,
Haley got benched when they were playing against Middle Tennessee. Like she could have
yeah,
guarded Wheeler.
this has not been the best tournament for her, bro.
Savannah Wheeler's like 5'4". So I'm like, if she got benched against Savannah Wheeler, why has she got the assignment against Caitlin Clark right now?
And like you got Flaw J on Gabby Marshall. No offense to Gabby Marshall, but she is not a factor right now. Like she's not having the ball in her hands like Caitlin Clark's having the ball in her hands. If anything, she catching the ball on the wing and letting it fly. You don't gotta worry about that. You gotta worry about 22 jumping the ball everywhere, doing whatever she wants to do with it. But Flaj's been killing it this whole tournament on both ends of the ball. But you want to play Haley Van Lith on her for 4 quarters and get
It's
cooked? Drop
it's
41 on her dummies? Nah. They
and
deserve
Poe
it.
didn't play bad. She just was flopping too much. Like Poe was like, she had the body control to stay there. She didn't really have the foot speed, but she just kept like jumping back, trying to get a call every time. And I'm like, now she's going around you and she's getting the layup or she's getting somebody else up before the three. Like, what you're doing is not going to work in this game because they're not going to call that call on Kaylee. I think they called it maybe once. I'm just like, they're not going to call a push off, especially
Yeah.
if she's not doing it.
I don't know. Officiating, I felt was a little better last night, even though Angel Reese got in foul trouble and fouled out of that game in a questionable way. But I don't know, man. I think game plan, I think they got on to them trying to run through Angel, and then like I don't know. I just feel like LSU's offense at times was just a little stagnant. You know, they use a lot of the shot clock instead of like getting to a point of where, all right, we're gonna make a play here, shoot this. We're gonna make a play here, shoot that. Um, I know Michaela Williams was pretty cold from deep. Wasn't really hitting on nothing. Um, I feel like that should have been a game ran through Flaugy and Angel. They're a good 1-2 punch to run through.
I feel
I
like they
think
will.
like the hardest part for me was I was like a little bit weary for LSU coming into this game because their whole bread and butter, they were the number one offensive rebounding team in the country this year. They rebounded almost like 50% of their misses, but it's because they send two or three players to the glass. They have great offensive rebounders. Like Angel's one of the best rebounders I've ever seen in the sport, but like
20
a
yesterday.
lot of people were killing LSU for transition defense, which I get. I think there were moments that could have been better, but for the most part, it's like, okay, if you don't get the offensive rebound and you are missing, like they were awful finishing around the rim yesterday. That was what lost in the game, not the defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it felt like at least a quarter of Iowa's points came off of leaking out in transition and getting
Yep.
odd man advantages because LSU sends two or three to the glass. Like that was absolutely killer. And I think that's what lost them the game yesterday. That's granted, like that's what they've done all year. That's what's made them a really good team. But against I just think trying to match Iowa's pace has not worked for anyone. It will not work for anyone.
Yeah,
And yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't think
You could tell they were dog tired. They
I
were
don't think
tired.
there's anybody left really that can match up with Iowa's pace. Maybe NC State, but that's a strong maybe. Um, I feel like you got to control the pace
You have to at least try.
in any game. In any game, you got to control the pace. But yeah, but shout out to Iowa. Shout out to Caitlin Clark, 41 in the Elite Eight.
Back to back.
She does, man. Being as historic and as great as she is.
Gotta give her respect, honestly. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, you have a feeling like going into a game like she could do this. And then when she's doing like in the middle of her doing it, you're like, she's really about to do this. And then like after the game, you're just like, what did I just watch? Like, like,
I'm
and
in
she
the
does it so
crib.
many different ways. Like, it's just crazy.
I'm in the crib tripping at some of the shots she hit, bro. I'm like, boy. And like, remember I said earlier this season how I was like, bro, I'm just like used to it. I'm not used to it. She gonna go in the W, do the same thing. I'm not gonna be used to it. Like,
Yeah. And I saw a lot of W players like, oh, do this, do that. I can't wait to see them try to figure out like different ways to try to stop her and see if it works, because it's easy to say from behind your phone, but like,
oh yeah.
and I think it was Brittany Sykes was like, all right, now if she's doing this to me in 2 months, don't run this tweet back. Like, leave me alone. I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, it's tough. Like it, and it's gonna be a lot of it's gonna be based off like how Indiana wants to run their offense. Just because Caitlin or Iowa is so Caitlin centric, like they allow her to run off so many screens and all that. Like obviously Indiana's gonna want to do that, but you still have other players on the court. You still have Aaliyah Boston, you still have Kelsey Mitchell. Like they're not gonna run everything through Caitlin. So it's really gonna be interesting to see how they try to navigate, getting Caitlin good shots and getting the rest of the team good shots too.
For sure. All right. Last matchup, Elite Eight. It's probably the best game in my opinion. It was the best man. I don't know. To me, it was it was a good game. It was a great game. Not the outcome I wanted, but it was a good outcome. I'm sorry to hide my bias there. I couldn't even. I mean, I made my picks on the TL, unlike someone else.
Amen. I made it in the chat before the game started.
I mean, yeah, you did. I mean, you did. Ain't no secret. You got it on right now. Ain't no secret of who you want to win. But we got UConn took dub over USC. On the corrected court. I think that's something to note here. Oh,
Yeah.
How the hell you missed the court up that bad? Like I saw the new line, I said, damn, they wasn't even close.
It was, yeah, that's
It wasn't even close. They were what, like 9 feet off, they said?
9 inches.
Oh, 9 inches. Oh, I'm about to say.
9 feet is crazy.
9 feet would be.
Yeah,
that
I don't
would-
know why. I don't
yeah.
know why 9 feet don't even play the game. 9 inches. Okay. But still, even looking at the court, it's like, damn,
Yeah.
like it damn near look like how they play on the court where you got the NBA line and the college line on the court.
Yeah.
That's how I look. But all in all, though, man, we had a good game, good battle, good duel, good matchup between UConn and USC. I know Tariq had some questions about UConn early on in the season. I know we talked about it, talked about the Final Four chances, with a lot of their injuries that they've had. Probably because of the path that they had too has helped them out. This has been the toughest team that they've had to play against. And then, like I said, get to the Sweet 16, take it matchup by matchup, and that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. I was just agreeing.
For me, one of the things that stood out to me the most is like when you're going into games, you're like, oh, this player versus this player. How often do they actually guard each other? In this game, Juju and Paige guard quite often, especially in the fourth quarter. Like there were plays where like in the fourth quarter, like watch Paige, she scores a bucket and runs like beelines to Juju. And I'm like, that's the difference between those two players. And this is no knock to Caitlin or anybody else, but like that is the difference between some of the other players in the country or some of the other players that we've seen. Is like they were willing to take that challenge, especially in the fourth quarter. Like Paige was on Juju in the fourth quarter. Juju was guarding Paige throughout the entire game. Like there were plays where she would switch on or where she would just be like, all right, I got her this possession. And it's kind of hard. It's harder for you to guard Paige one-on-one because she's running off of screens and they're running a set offense. And not that USC isn't, but a lot of times like they run their thing and then Juju gets the ball somewhere and makes a play. So it's easier to guard Juju one-on-one than it is to guard Paige. But that was my favorite part of this game. Like obviously there were a lot of great parts in this game, but like them taking the challenge to guard each other. And in this day and age, we don't see that enough. Like so many people just like, oh, I'll just let them switch. I'll just allow the switch, just let them cook. Like it's annoying and frustrating to see in other games and other sports. But this team or both of these teams were like, we want to get to the Final Four. Like they wanted it so bad. And I think a lot of people were on USC's offense. And I'm like, this has been USC's offense. Like they did go away from Juju a lot during this game, which was a little weird. But it was like, this is kind of the way they played all season. Like from like beginning of the season, it was like Juju and a little bit of everybody else. And then it became a little bit more balanced as the season went on. But they're like, oh, well, their post players don't really score much. I'm like, it's been like that. That's not new.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Rhea Marshall is a defensive player. She's not out there to give you 15 to 20. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm like, you could tell like what team or what people hadn't really got to see them, especially they're on the Pac-12 network, so they weren't super easy to watch. But yeah, that was my takeaway from the game at least.
Yeah, I just going back to I think like 4:15 left in the fourth quarter. That shot Paige hit off an offensive rebound. It was like pivot into like just like launching some shit over her shoulder. Like Mackenzie Forbes, I have the clip pulled up around. Mackenzie Forbes guarded this like I don't think anybody could do a better job.
Yeah.
And as soon as Paige hit that shot, I'm like, all right, UConn's winning. Like that's just
literally. I was like, thanks for coming. Like that's it. So
blouses.
That's one of the most disgusting shots I've seen anybody hit this year. Like that was crazy. And yeah, I felt like it was kind of emblematic of where that fourth quarter went. Like USC was really struggling to get anything going offensively. And I think exactly what you're hitting on. Because I don't know, I get frustrated because I think I watched every USC game this year just because I was like so interested to watch Juju and how she developed and stuff after following her, Sierra and some of the stuff she did with Team USA. So I think some people are a little bit too harsh with the offense without like fully getting how they play. I think this was a lot more about UConn's defense was just really locked in. They did a great job. I thought their switching was phenomenal across the board. I thought they did a really great job of selective pressure. Um, they just made things hard. And like you said too, like Paige was awesome on both ends of this game. Like she was so good. I thought Nika gave them really good stuff early too, and just giving them an extra body. Who could stay in front at times. And like, I don't know. I just keep coming away impressed with this. And we haven't talked about her yet, but like KK Arnold's growth the last month has been awesome.
Yeah.
Like again, the box score doesn't look amazing from Duke because I think she was 5 of 15 from the court, but she was the second best player for them in that game, in my opinion. She was great defensively in this one. Obviously got into foul trouble a little bit, but she's just gotten a lot more confident in her offensive game. And that's been so huge for them because they need that extra ball handler who can get things going because especially in Gino's offense, if everybody's not a threat on the court, the offense doesn't work. Like it's not going to hit as well as it needs to.
Yeah.
And I think you got everybody being a threat yesterday. And that was so big for making it more possible for Paige to get off because you can't throw as many bodies at Paige when when you have KK that willing to get to the rim and that willing to get her shot off. Like I just I'm so excited for her future at UConn because I think she went really under the radar for a lot of this year. She and Ashlyn Shade both had to step up so much due to injury and watch them grow into it. It's been really special. I think Ashlyn had probably the better run during Big East play, but KK has been probably their third best player in the tournament. If we're keeping it a buck, like she's been really good in the tournament.
Ashton Shea had I think it was the round of 32 game where she went nuts from three, but
that is true. That is true.
Other than that, I would go KK. And shout out Ice Brady too, because that three she hit.
Yeah, the three she hit yesterday was huge. That was
big shots.
She hit that. We gonna win this because if she's making that shot, I don't see us losing.
I gotta say, like when Tariq normally always like to say, well, some people make shots.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Wrap it up. When Draymond hits 3 threes, go ahead, wrap it up.
Forget it. Yeah. R.I.P. The backpack slinging. We got to get out of here. So
that's a fact.
But nah, man, as you guys mentioned, yeah, I think this lived up to the expectations, man. the battle between Juju and Paige was refreshing to see, and the Paige performance was very refreshing to see, because a lot of people forgot about Paige. Like, I mean, I get, she's been hurt the last couple of seasons and stuff, but we got to remember Paige was the forefront of this generation when she came into to college. Like, that freshman season, phenomenal, and then the season after that, she led them to what to the championship. I don't know why I froze there. Cause I kind of froze there. Cause I was like, hold on. Cause I was like, no, it wasn't her freshman year. Cause the freshman year they lost in the 4, and then second year was the year that she brought it to the championship against South Carolina. So yeah, but yeah, no, Paige has been a dog, a killer like this whole time, and I know a lot of people forgot about her. I know we did our cut bench start. That was a weird way to say it. Bench start cut. A lot of people was cutting Paige.
That was a weird way to say it too. Like
start bench cut. I said bench start cut.
Yeah.
Every variation of it. Anyways, when we did start bench cut, everybody was cutting Paige like kindergartners.
Oh my god. That's so
I said it last episode and Bailey would mess with it.
Okay, but you don't do it back-to-back episodes.
Oh, because it landed. It was good. But anyways, USC, man, this team is special. They shots just wasn't falling for them at certain times. Caleb Padilla went 1 for 9 from the field.
Yeah.
Him buy a bucket, man. I was just like, Lord. I said, yeah, this is rap, bro. Like this ain't looking good for the Chargers, man. I mean, they fighting on, but how much longer can they? But I just think in a game like this, and just seeing, especially seeing Juju in a game like this, just lead me to believe that they're gonna be good for a good little while, and Juju's gonna learn from this and just get better from this.
They have 3 5-stars coming in next year.
They, the way UConn defended Juju though, at times, like she was getting double teamed and they made things hard for her. And I think UConn defended Juju the way they needed to, and that's why they won this game because of how they got after it on defense. Paige really got after it on defense. Who else? Trying to look at the steals here. Paige had 3 steals. Nika had 2. Aaliyah Edwards had 1 block. I thought I said 4 blocks, 4 turnovers. But yeah, man, complete game from UConn as they head on to another Final Four where they'll face, oh my gosh, Caitlin Clark in Iowa again. Ooh wee. We got ourselves a hell of a Final Four this weekend, man.
Another good weekend of basketball. All right. Did Mark? Did you need to head out?
Yeah, I need to bounce. I apologize.
All right, yeah. Thank you, Mark, for joining us on this episode, man. Mark, let the people know where they can find you, find your work, where you work. Well, not where you work. What what you working on, what to look out for, man.
Yeah, you can find me. First off, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm sorry I had to cut it short. That's the nature of the beast right now. You can find me on Twitter at MG_Schindler. Always posting clips. Not as often as some people want, I guess. Dude, not to like go crazy long on it, but I had all these Iowa fans came to me because I didn't clip their game against who did they play against? Who did they play in the Elite Eight? I can't even, oh, not Elite Eight, in the Sweet 16. Who did Iowa play in the Sweet 16?
Colorado.
I was eating dinner during that game. So they decided that I was biased and hated Caitlin because I was not clipping her video during that. So Twitter sucks sometimes, man. But yes, you can find me on Twitter at MG_Schindler. I should have a new mock draft coming out today or tomorrow. Plenty of stuff coming. But as always, I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate you guys always being supportive of my work. It means a ton.
For sure. And for the people who are looking to go to Cleveland or want to go,
2 things to look out for in Cleveland.
Answer Joakim Noah's question for us. What are you gonna do with Cleveland?
Go to Angelo's Pizza in Lakewood. It's awesome. Some of the
Oh,
best
Mark is a
pizza I've
food guy. I forgot about
yeah.
that. Mark is a food guy.
It's honestly like some of the best pizza I've ever had in just period. Like it's so good. But get there early because even on like a weekday at like 3 p.m. there's a 45-minute wait. It's really good. Strong recommend. I can't think of it a second thing off the top of my head. If you like brunch, there's this place called Grumpy's in Tremont. Very good, but also has a long wait. So get there early.
All right, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
See you guys. Have a good one.
All right,
Yep.
Mark. Yes, we were just joined by the one and only Mark Schindler to discuss everything we discussed this past 45 minutes. But thanks for Mark to joining us, man. Having quality hoop discussions with us, man. One of the better hoop minds out there.
I didn't know if you were gonna keep saying so. Before we move on, I don't know what we're going next, but I just want to give a shout out to Juju, man. Her season,
Not the shoot, man.
I think like coming in, like there were teams
I
and
ain't got
players.
no blood, but
There were teams and players that I was looking forward to watching, and as you can see, a lot of those teams I ended up being more invested in than others, which is why I was hoping that UCLA would win and Kansas State and teams like that, like teams that I pay attention to a lot more than some others this season. And Juju was one of the players that I was like looking forward to watching coming in, Hannah Hidalgo as well. Just because like there was so much hype, but I felt like even like there was hype, but it wasn't like maybe it wasn't as much as it should have been. Like I think everyone was excited to see how she would play, but I think her being in the Pac-12 kind of hurt her a little bit. Um, and she was getting love, but it was like here and there. It wasn't like every night when she was still doing crazy stuff every night. Like she was getting 30 every other night. She was getting 25, 27. Like she was second leading scorer in the nation. Like if Caitlin Clark didn't exist, she would have led the league in scoring or led the country in scoring in her freshman season. So all the records she broke, most points in the season as a freshman. I mean, if they would have won this game and then beat Iowa and play South Carolina, she had a chance to score 1,000 points in a season. Like that's insane. Like she's over 900 points this season. So say she scores 30-ish against them and then 30 against, she'd be close to 1,000. Like that's crazy. So just to see the growth and to see the way she came out and she was just ready. I mean, her first game was against Ohio State and she came out and gave them 30 like it was nothing. And that's when everybody was like, oh, okay. And I had high expectations, but she even exceeded those, like far exceeded those. Like I knew she would be like in the running for freshman of the year, but to be in the running for player of the year, I mean, like in her freshman season, like that's not normal. Like I just want people to realize, like, yeah, Paige won won national player of the year as a freshman, but that wasn't normal either. So like we gotta like give Juju her proper like due. And there was some clown on the app yesterday that was talking about she was overright or like overhyped or whatever. I'm like, you don't know about like Val. What? You don't know basketball. Relax. You don't know basketball if you think like Juju was overhyped or like and I saw him like I went to his page just to see and he replied the same thing on like eight different people's thing. And then he replied something about Angel Reese in them. So I was like, oh, all right, super fat time. I'm not even paying this no mind. But just shout out to Juju, man. This season was more than I could have asked for. Like her team was 3-4 minutes away from being in the Final Four her freshman season. And to see the way that she reacted to losing, and then last night, like at the podium, she said, "I'm just ready to go home and get back in the gym." That's
my kind of player, man.
That's why she's different, bro.
That's my kind of player.
And they're bringing 3 5-stars in and 3 other like
4 Americans.
So they bring in 6 more recruits next year or this coming offseason. Like they're gonna be really good. Like Kennedy Smith is like that. Like This is gonna be a really good team next year. The Big Ten, y'all gonna have to.
Big Ten better watch out. They are like, all right, you gotta do a Caitlin no more. Juju's coming. Juju and her butt are coming through.
And she gonna lock you up too.
Come on. The one, not the two. Even though she wear a 1-2. I don't know. I'm proud. I'm proud of Juju. It's like, I don't know why. I just have like some like. No, I don't even be weird there. But it is. I'm proud of Juju, bro. It's like, I don't know. Maybe because we watched her since she was at Sierra Kane and just be like, bro, this girl's really good. And she goes to the same high school like Bronny and all them boys or whatever, but she's like really good or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just great to see, man. It's just great to see Ju be Ju. Like her being that dedicated. Like she cut from that different cloth. All right. She is cut from that cloth. And just hearing the different stories about, how she was in the gym putting up shots like late night or whatever, or like, I don't know, she might have put up shots last night, who knows? But I just see someone who loves the game, student of the game, someone that prides himself on getting better and wanting to get better and wanting to be the best. That's Juju. You can see that she wants to be the best in this game. She's coming for all them accolades. She's coming for all the awards. She's coming for all that. Like, be lucky. Be very lucky that she ain't do all that stuff this year. Because next year and the years after, she's coming for it, bro. Like, this is the worst that she's going to be. And the worst that she's going to be is 27 points as a freshman. Dropping 51 on Stanford on the road. Dropping 30 on everybody else. Taking your team to the Elite Eight for the first time in 30 years. Come on, man. Come on, man. Juju, man. Cut different.
Yeah, she's
Different.
phenomenal talent, generational talent.
Bro.
She's gonna be one of the best players we've ever seen.
Bro.
College and pro. She's gonna be one of the best players. Stamp it. I'm stamping it right now. Like, one of the best players we've ever seen. She's gonna be that.
Yeah, already.
Do you want to get into the Final Four, or do you want to say that for the next episode?
Give you the Final Four a little bit. Build it up a little bit because it is this weekend. We got Paige and Caitlin part 2.
It sounded like you said Paige, Cage, and Caitlin. But I think you just said like part 2 like really fast after, so it like threw me off.
Caitlin part 2. Ooh.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really interesting matchup. I think UConn, obviously this was freshman year. I think UConn, or not, I think they played her sophomore year too. No, was it last year?
No.
They played in Portland. Yeah, they did. Iowa and
Paige
was out. Paige was out.
Paige was out.
But I can't remember if it was sophomore or junior year. Because I feel like Lou was playing. I feel like AZ was playing. Let me check. Because let's see, 2022 or 2023. They played. Oh my goodness, come on. Nah, the internet want to be slow, bro. Come on, bro. We ain't got all day for this.
We ain't got all day, man. But hey, Caitlin, you got two of the more dynamic guards in the nation going against each other. This is really gonna be a battle. This is I really hope these players, like in LSU versus not LSU, UConn versus USC. I hope the star players match up against each other, and I think they will. I don't think they'll shy away from the matchup. Um, Being that these players have competed and have been put in talks and just have been put in conversations about who's better or who's higher in the ranks or just whatever, Bennett's got to get taken care of. Bennett's got to get handled to take it to that national championship on the line. And I don't know. I know a lot of people talk about legacy talk when it comes to number 22. It's Caitlin Clark.
Legacy talk is never mind.
But I feel like, hey, I don't know. I mean, I think this tournament run will
They beat Iowa, Oregon last season,
last
86-9
season.
without Paige.
Mm-hmm.
So Iowa or Caitlin is 0-2 against UConn. So this will be another game where she's looking for revenge. AZ had 24, Leah Edwards had 20, Lou had 11, Caroline had 15, Aubrey Griffin had 10. Caitlin had 25 on 9 of 24. Kate Martin had 20. Gavin Marshall had 10. McKenna Warnock had 14 on 14 shots. So a different team. Obviously, they don't have McKenna Warnock, Zanano. Molly Davis is injured. But I think this is a very interesting matchup because Gino is very much like Bill Belichick in the way of like he will take away the best player on your team, or at least attempt to take away the best player on your team. And I don't see Gino having the same defensive game plan mistake as Kim Mulkey and Dawn had the last 2 years. I just don't like. I think he switches different players on her. I think Nika gets the initial one. I think KK gets some. I think Paige is in there. Like, I think there's a bunch, and I think UConn matches up really well with Iowa. Like, there's no like, oh, they have a really good post player or they have too much size. Like, I think this is a really good matchup for both teams, honestly. And I just think UConn's defense would be the reason that they end up winning this game. But I think this matchup could really go either way. Just like the 3-point shooting, the offensive prowess of both teams. It's really just going to come down to whose game plan makes the most sense, who makes adjustments, and fourth quarter. I would be surprised if this game doesn't come down to the fourth quarter. So that's what I'm looking for. And then South Carolina, NC State, it's just an interesting matchup. Like NC State has a good team. Like I know we're like a lot of people are just like, oh, South Carolina's gonna play Iowa or UConn, and I don't necessarily disagree, but NC State has guards that can give them problems, which has always been a thing that you need to play well against South Carolina. And then River Baldwin is a pretty good defender. And Mimi Collins is very experienced as a defender as well. So I think this is an interesting matchup too. I think South Carolina obviously is the favorite. They'll be the favorite with any of these matchups, but I do think South Carolina's gonna have to come to play. I think NC State, the way they're shooting the ball right now, the way the confidence that they're playing with, I think this is a very, very fun matchup for NC State because they've gone through different phases this season of like where they've looked like one of the best teams in the country, and then they've gone through phases where they look like not middle of the pack, but like a top 16 to 17 team in the country. So if we get the best version of NC State, this is a really, really tough game for South Carolina.
Yeah, especially with that guard duo, man. I mean, not saying that South Carolina can't handle those guards because they got guards of their own. They got plenty of guards, bro. You got Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson. You got Malaysia Fawali, like Tahina Papa.
That's crazy. Her name last.
Oh, but yeah, I just think being that South Carolina is a more well-rounded team, top to bottom, and that they have a complete team. I think that's just been their advantage all season. Them having Ashton Watkins, that's an athletic forward, and having Camila Cardozo, who's one of the better defenders in the nation. Like that's
such an interesting matchup.
oh man, that's something there, bro.
I like this matchup more than the Texas. Now that I look at it,
You say you like this matchup more? What?
I like this matchup more than the Texas matchup. Now that I look at it, I thought South Carolina and Texas matched up really well, or like I thought Texas would match up with them really well.
Yeah.
But honestly, like this NC State matchup, this is a really tough. Like they might be a tougher matchup than the UConn Iowa.
Yeah.
Like outside of like just having to deal with Paige and having to deal with the Caitlin, like for team, I think NC State gives them a bigger problem. Like they have post players that can play, that can guard well, and can stand their ground. And River Baldwin is somebody that takes charges, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the refs call that.
Mm-hmm.
But just their guard play, they've got three. I mean, you got Zoe Brooks too. Like Zoe Brooks comes off and she can get hot too. So it's really, really interesting how this game could go. Yeah, man, this game deserves just as much acknowledgement and shine as the Caitlin Paige matchup, which is going to be super fun too. But both of those matchups, man, it's just we got blessed, man. We got blessed with really good Final Four matchups. Really
Bro,
good.
spoil, bro. This whole tournament's been crazy, bro. Like we may never see the best teams play. Like the best teams didn't really get bounced out early. We didn't have a lot of upsets in the first couple of rounds. We had a few of them, but not a lot of them.
We could have seen LSU versus Iowa, bro.
Yeah.
Why they couldn't be in Greenville last year?
Oh man,
it was a national championship game anyway. But like, why couldn't Iowa be? Nah, it's.
But yeah, man. The Indiana Fever are funny.
They just go ahead and announce it now. Honestly, just be like, "Yo, we're
What I
taking."
really wanted to do, and I forgot about it after the fact. It was like I was 22 days to the WNBA draft, and I was like, you know what? They could be drafting Cameron Brinker.
Nah, that's crazy. Just imagine, like,
I knew I should have made that tweet, bro. I was like, oh shoot, because I
like
realized
Fever
also
should have done something yesterday for April Fools. Like they should have done something where it was like, we will be withdrawing our name from being able to take, from being able to draft.
We're trading our pick. Our pick is up for grabs.
Yeah, that's what it should have been like.
Overtime made a dumb little post. They were like,
dumb.
They was like, Caitlin Clark out for the night. I was like, all right.
That's so stupid.
It is like with an elbow injury, and then they posted the Drewski meme next to it. It was like, let me chill out for my ass to get fired or something.
They're so goofy, bro. They're so goofy.
But all right, man, we got another episode later on this week previewing the Final Four with another guest. Yeah.
Look at us now. Look at us,
man. We got guests lined up, man. hey. I had a special dap up, but no. Once again, happy birthday to my brother Tariq.
Appreciate y'all.
For sure. And but yeah, man, we are out. We got another episode later on this week. Previewing the Final Four. And some more.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all for tuning in once again. Shout out to Mark once again too. Y'all make sure y'all follow Mark.
Absolutely.
Tried
that they've got now.
Posting clips and WNBA games in the middle of February. Oh, he's great with the clips.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the better basketball minds, like we said. Got a lot of work on the Athletic on WNBA.com as well. And his podcast they've got now, where she, goes around and interviews different college players, WNBA players, coaches, the whole nine.